On October 24th, 1996, Patricia Wyman wrote 5 words in her field log, "Wolves calm." 10:42 a.m., then she unlatched the gate, stepped into the enclosure alone, and vanished into the Canadian wilderness. She would never be seen alive again. Patricia Wyman was not a thrill seeker. She was a trained wildlife biologist, the kind of scientist who read every study, took every precaution, and poured her life into understanding animal behavior. Wolves were her obsession. She had spent years studying their packs, their hierarchies, their social bonds. In the spring of 1996, Patricia landed what she saw as her dream position, wildlife biologist at Haliburton Forest and Wildlife Reserve, a sprawling 75,000-acre private wilderness in central Ontario. Her assignment was to manage and study 5 captive gray wolves living in a 15-acre natural enclosure, real wolves in near-wild conditions. For Patricia, it was everything. These 5 gray wolves had lived in the enclosure for years. Previous handlers reported them as calm, accustomed to human presence, never aggressive toward staff. The wolves were fed regularly, their behavior logged daily. By all accounts, they were manageable, a research asset, not a threat. Every morning Patricia followed the same routine. Enter at dawn. Log the wolves' behavior. Check their health. Leave food. Monitor their movements. Week after week, nothing went wrong. The wolves ate. They rested. They moved as a pack. Patricia grew confident. She had studied wolves in the wild. She knew their nature. Or so she believed. In early October, subtly at first, the wolves' behavior began to shift. During feeding times, they became more assertive, more vocal, more territorial. Patricia noted the changes in her logs, but she interpreted them as normal pack dynamics, aggression between themselves, not toward her. She had no reason to believe she was in danger. On the morning of October 24th, Patricia Wyman arrived at Haliburton Forest, as she did every other day. She parked her vehicle, grabbed her clipboard and field kit, and walked to the enclosure gate. The wolves were calm. She logged them. She unlatched the gate. She stepped inside. Moments after Patricia entered, something shifted. The wolves moved toward her. Not a playful approach. A coordinated advance. Their ears back. Their posture low. Within seconds, all 5 wolves were moving as one, closing the distance between themselves and the only human in their space. What happened in those final minutes inside the enclosure was never fully witnessed. The wolves attacked Patricia Wyman with overwhelming force. The attack was swift and fatal. By the time colleagues arrived at the enclosure gate less than an hour later, Patricia was dead. When Patricia did not return to sign out by mid-morning, the forest manager grew concerned. He approached the enclosure. He called for her. Silence. He opened the gate and discovered the body of Patricia Wyman inside. The 5 wolves had retreated to the far side of the enclosure, watching. Ontario Emergency Services arrived within the hour. First responders secured the area. The 5 wolves were contained and tranquilized. An Ontario coroner was called. The investigation into the death of Patricia Wyman, the first documented fatal wolf attack at a Canadian wildlife facility, had begun. The coroner's autopsy was conclusive. Patricia Wyman had been killed by the wolves. The attack had been severe and coordinated. The coroner noted that the wolves had acted with deliberate aggression, not hunger, not defense, but a pack-coordinated predatory assault on a human they had lived alongside for months. The news shattered the wildlife world. Patricia Wyman was not a poacher. She was not reckless. She was a trained scientist who had followed protocol. And the wolves she had cared for, wolves that had lived peacefully with humans for years, had killed her without warning or mercy. Investigators reviewed Patricia's logs in detail. The signs had been there. In her final weeks, she had documented increasing aggression among the pack, dominance disputes, escalating territorial behavior. But Patricia had interpreted these as normal pack dynamics, not as a warning that the wolves' tolerance of humans was breaking down. In the years following Patricia's death, wolf behavior researchers, including LIHNL and colleagues in their landmark 2002 study, revisited everything they thought they knew about captive wolves. The conclusion was sobering. Captive wolves do not lose their predatory nature. Routine and familiarity do not equal safety. A wolf that tolerates your presence is not the same as a wolf that is tame. The 5 wolves that killed Patricia Wyman were never returned to the Haliburton enclosure. They were permanently separated and held under maximum security. There was no trial, no verdict, only the biological reality that they had done what wolves do, and a human had paid the price for forgetting that wolves are predators, not pets. Patricia Wyman was 32 years old when she died. She had dedicated her short life to understanding wolves and advancing wildlife science. Her death was not in vain. It rewrote the protocols for captive wolf management across North America. It taught a new generation of biologists that knowledge and dedication are not armor against the wild. It reminded the world that some creatures, no matter how long they live beside us, remain what they have always been, wolves. Patricia Wyman's story is a reminder that nature respects no boundaries between science and survival. If you found her story haunting and real, please like this video and follow our channel. We tell the true stories that change how we see the world and what the world demands of us. Thank you for honoring Patricia's memory by watching and sharing.